So, depression and generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, have a lot in common and are really highly comorbid. And so, most people who have depression also have GAD, and then a very large proportion of people who have GAD also have depression. And the two disorders are highly linked because both of them are considered distress disorders. And so people who have them have like really high levels of overall distress. There are certain things that like connect the two disorders that are similar versus different. And so the feature of both depression and GAD that is similar is how much they involve repetitive, perseverative thinking. So a important feature of depression is rumination, which is thinking about things that happened in the past over and over again in like a kind of broken record type way of like what happened, how it could have gone differently, like what why people are like messed up or did things the wrong way or something like that. People with depression experience a lot of rumination, and rumination is really closely linked to worry, which is the main feature of GAD. So GAD is characterized by uncontrollable and excessive worry about multiple areas in life. And worry and rumination are like basically the same thing. The only difference is that rumination focuses on stuff that happened in the past, whereas worry is about something that might happen in the future. So a ruminative thought could be something like, I can't, I did so poorly on that test. Like, what did I get wrong? Like, how did I go wrong? What could I have done differently? Whereas a worry might be, how am I going to do on the test tomorrow? Like, how can I study well enough? And that distinction has been made, but honestly, the two overlap so much that it's like pretty hard to tell them apart. And so that's the feature that connects depression and anxiety the most. Yeah, so there are aspects of rumination that could, in theory, like work well for you, right? And so the reason that we all think about past things that we did is because we're trying to figure out in a way like what happened and how we might do it differently in the future. And so it's related but different from problem solving. And so kind of both are the different sides of the same coin. So rumination is sort of the less adaptive version of problem solving. Like I'm sure a lot of us have like thought about problems and like sort of carry them around in our heads, like, over a few weeks, sort of like thinking about it and thinking how we might like sort of fix the situation. And then the thought kind of pops into your head and you're able to move forward and get unstuck. And so that's the same like thought process that happens in rumination. It's just that we never really get to the problem solving part of it. And so it's kind of like problem solving gone wrong. So there are these two different aspects of emotions that we have. So one is like the negative feelings that we experience. So things like distress, feeling upset, feeling like shameful or guilty or overwhelmed, like all of those kind of negative emotions. And then we also experience positive emotions, and they're not only opposites of each other. So you can experience positive and negative emotions like at the same time or at different times. And just because you're experiencing one doesn't mean you're not experiencing the other. So positive emotions are things like pride and excitement and satisfaction and things like that. So a lot of the disorders that you're learning about this semester have a lot of negative emotions that come along with them. So particularly depression, kind of when you're in a depressed mood, you feel like sad and hopeless and upset and helpless and all of those things. And that's actually common across all of the emotional disorders. So it happens in depression, but it also happens in anxiety, right? Feelings of like of irritability and anxiety. Those are all kind of negative emotions. Feelings of, you know, sort of like heightened kind of like worry or those sorts of things. And so having higher levels of negative affect or those negative emotions ties all of those disorders together. But depression is particularly characterized by having low levels of positive emotions. So actually one of the two core symptoms of depression is what's called anhedonia, or not experiencing interest or pleasure in things. And so that describes like the kind of the feeling of like maybe emptiness or lack of motivation or sort of low energy that people with depression feel. And that is mostly unique to depression. And so when you ask people about how many positive emotions they're experiencing, it tends to be that people who are feeling more depressed feel less positive emotions. And that's not necessarily the case with people who are feeling anxious or have anxiety disorders.